Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Literally Dead Book Club live show for Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This is our 5th year of the book club, our 5th year reading Riley Sager. Yeah.
Might be time to break up with Riley Sager. I'm just kidding.
If you didn't know, our next read is I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. I just wanted to start it out telling you this because the live show for this is actually just going to be in like 3 weeks. So we're not waiting until the end of the month because all the hosts are like really busy. So we're going to make it earlier. So make sure you get to this on time. But today we're talking about this. First, what do I want to do? Introductions. Elias has been here 6 times, but Sam is brand new. Listen, Elias is the first person I ever told about the book club. In fact, my first thoughts of the book club was like, me and Elias should start a book club. And that's why Elias is here. Whenever I send out the message, the bat signal, I'm like,
I always get so excited. I'm like, of course, absolutely.
Yeah, you just gotta be down for anything.
Right? That's how it is. And then Sam is a newbie, and so that means that she's going to tell us the synopsis of the book too, because that's what we like to force people to do when they come.
Yep.
Okay,
I've been rehearsing.
Really?
I've been trying so hard. It's like not a book that has like the biggest of plots, so I'm like, how can I make this sound even a little interesting? It's like,
that's so cute.
Give it to us.
It's small.
Okay, so introductions. Tell me your name and your channel, maybe like your most recent favorite mystery, thriller, or horror book, so people can get a taste for your taste.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Elias from the channel Elias. Honestly, the last thriller mystery book that I read was The Butterfly Garden, which I thought was okay. Yeah,
that's on my DVR.
It was fine. I had the rest of the books in the series, but I decided not to go forward with it. But that is the last one besides Middle of the Night, so I don't have any any good recs so far for thrillers. But I'm currently reading What Lies in the Woods, and I'm liking this writing style so much better than this one. But I'm like barely into it, so.
I just read that a couple weeks ago, so.
I feel like you both have read it.
I really
read it because of Kayla.
I really liked it.
It was like a TBR thing. It was like somebody that liked it and someone who didn't like it. Katie Colson hated it, and you liked it, and I was like, perfect.
I think Gabby hated it too, so we'll see.
I feel like a lot of people hated it, and I was like, I thought it was fun.
Yeah, the writing is giving.
Yeah, it's fun. It's quick.
Okay, Sam, tell us some favorites.
Oh no. Hello, my name is Sam. I'm so scared and nervous, so bear with me. I've had maybe the worst like horror thriller reading year so far. I've had 2 5 stars, and it was The Haunting of Elkwood and The Haar. So those are my 2 this year.
Agree. Those are great.
Well,
I'm glad you endorsed them.
I know, she just like...
I thought it was an effect. I was like, you were like, great. And I was like, oh my god, since when did this become so like...
I was like, I have something to say. Make me my face bigger. Those are good recs. What do you traditionally read on your channel? Actually, I need to promote Sam a little bit because Sam has done like a series of reading every single Literally Dead Book Club fic on her channel, and it was really fun to watch. What else do you typically read? I
primarily focus on fantasy romance, because I'm that girly right now, and horror. Fantasy horror is like the best genre for me because it's a blend of my 2 favorites, but yeah, mostly read fantasy. And then every single thriller that Kayla tells me to read. I'm very easily influenced.
I love it. Okay, go ahead and tell us the synopsis of this. While I want to hear from the audience, your history with Riley Sager, which ones you've read before. There are so many to get through, so I thought rather than each of us saying which our favorites were and ranking them, I would just put a graphic on the screen. Oh no, I'm in the wrong order again. Hold on. Next to each of our faces, you can see our own personal rankings, so we don't have to go through them all and try to remember them. And you can tell us who you identify with most. Is it me? Is it Elias? Is it Sam?
My ranking will change in a few days, so.
Wow. We all agree that Survive the Night was a total shit show. So.
It's so bad.
But we drastically disagree on The House Across the Lake, so.
That's very true.
Like, I liked it, but compared to the other ones, not as much. But I think it was still like a 4-star for me, so. Anywho, Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. First
every door.
male POV. Holy cow! This is following Ethan Marsh, who's returning reluctantly to his childhood home in the Hemlock Circle, which is a little cul-de-sac in New Jersey, and he's returning after 30 years of his best friend Billy Barling something. 30 years later after his disappearance, which happened from Ethan's backyard. They were like camping in a tent. There was a slash and Billy was just gone, disappeared. 30 years later, Ethan is seeing things in the night and wondering if Billy has returned or if maybe someone's just being really, really mean.
That's a great way to describe it. It's not a villain. It's not something terrible. It's just somebody being mean.
Just mean.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so before we get into the spoilers, I would love to hear your rating of the book and your reasoning, like a brief reasoning, just a one-sentence explanation of why before we get into all of the spoilers.
Ooh.
At least I don't think I know I can't remember. Did you vlog this?
I vlogged it, but I didn't finish it yet.
Oh, okay.
When
I remember seeing it in a thumbnail, and I was like, I can't watch that because then I'll know the rating.
So I didn't finish. I actually failed Summerween. I didn't finish a single book for the entire reading challenge.
No.
But I did start it. But so I did not like this one.
Oh, no.
But I do want to admit that it's probably the safest of his books. It's so boring and just so two-dimensional compared to his like other thrillers that I've read from before. I think it's so safe. Even with The Only One Left, that one had more twists to it that kept me like reading throughout. But this one took me a good long while. Like even after the finishing the readathon, it took me like another like few days to a week to almost finish it, and it was not worth it. I thought it was. I think like if you were introducing Riley Sager, this would be a great book to start with. It's so nothing happens. I did more than a sentence, so I'm so sorry. When I was just thinking about it, I was like, "What else am I supposed to say?"
Yeah, you're going on 7 sentences now.
So yeah,
relax. Okay. I'm excited to get into spoilers now with you, so you can fully develop all of these thoughts. I feel like we said the same thing about The Only One Left last year. We said this is safe, this is simple, and so maybe that's just the direction he wants to go after doing a couple strange things. He was like, "Let me keep it chill."
he's like, "Yeah."
Well, also it was said that The Only One Left was going to be his last release, and then he was going on break. And then it was, oh, actually, I have one more, and I'm writing a man's POV. Which
I need money.
Yeah, I'll be super honest. I am going to have to call myself a hypocrite because the whole time I was like, Riley Sager, stop writing women. Riley Sager, don't write a man. I'm so uninterested in listening to a man talk.
Right?
Oh, it's so bad.
All right, what'd you rate it then?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
It's like kind of like a 3.5 right now. Depending on the live show, Goodreads will either be a 3 or a 4. Because there's things that I enjoyed and things that I really didn't enjoy. My biggest issue is this doesn't feel like a Riley Sager book. And maybe it's because it's a guy, or just because it's safer, or felt pointless often. I don't know how I feel fully about it, but I didn't hate it. It is safe.
Yeah. 2.5 or 3 stars.
I'm so sorry I'm covering your face with the comments. Usually the comments pop people out of the way, and I don't know why it's not doing that today. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
But I see here a real range. Like
most of my friends gave it either 2 stars or 4 stars, and there was like no like other ratings.
Yeah, interesting. So I do see some 5s here, and people saying that it was like really emotional, impactful for them. So I
definitely see that.
I'm obviously really happy for everybody who loved this. I'm not one of you. Here's the thing. My heart says this is a 2.5. My brain says it's a 3 because it's not the book's fault that I figured out every single plot point, and not just the big things. Every tiny, minute detail I saw coming before it was revealed. And so I was just reading, like, this was a very underwhelming experience for me, but objectively I can look at it and say it was fine.
Yeah,
So those are my thoughts.
that's very much how in line. Like, oh wow, I love all this like special things that are coming. Like every lash I go in, it's like elevated. I love it.
I
What
also
I
have
like
the green shirt on. Come on.
Yeah,
Cannot
I'm wearing
didn't
Scream,
didn't get the
which is-
memo. Got Pac-Man. But what I like about Riley Sager is it's like, okay, can I recommend it to my mom who doesn't read often?
Mhm.
Yes. Like my mom would probably get a kick out of this because she's not used to reading as many thrillers. So she won't probably guess everything like I did. And so that's kind of like my gauge for Riley Sager. It's like, okay, can the general public enjoy it? Sure.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like there's a couple of his books that I wouldn't recommend to the general public, and this is one of them that I absolutely would. Like, there's nothing wrong with this book. Absolutely nothing wrong with
It's a
it.
very
Which
safe
is why
thriller.
I'm like, I can't give it a 2. Like, it's kind of mean. I don't know.
No, give it a 2.
Okay, I want to know everybody's theories before the book started. Like when we just knew that we're fully into spoilers now. Everybody who hasn't read it, leave or stay. I don't know. Before the book started, and you just knew Billy was missing, and his friend was coming back, Ethan, 30 years later. And you knew the tent was cut open with a knife. Like that's the only information you get. Did you have any theories before the book began? Like what the story was going to be?
In the beginning, I was really hoping for it to have like a supernatural twist in a way, but then coming about 50% of the book, I'm like, okay, nothing's happening so far. It's him figuring out, like buying a camera and everything. It just took so long to get there. By the time that there was some semblance of a supernatural, I didn't want it. I was like, this is gonna be a cop out. He's gonna pull some of the similar twists what he did in his other books. So I'm just gonna be like, I was hyping myself up to be disappointed, essentially. But my first theory was that he was kidnapped and he's still alive.
Yeah.
Or the other theory, once we got into the supernatural element, was that Ethan killed Billy, and like he's so traumatic he blocked it off or something.
Sure.
I thought it was gonna go super dark, but in the end it became
Real
sort of
wacky.
lighthearted. He became a dad and everything. I was like, all right. Yeah.
Same.
None of that happened. I guess I'm too dark for Riley now.
Yeah, I honestly like my first like unhinged thought. I was like, I hope Riley Sager potentially going on a break will go just all over wacky. And I was like, it's gonna be aliens. We've done supernatural. he's played around with it. He's dabbled. He's gotten to it at one point. Aliens. I just wanted it so bad. Spoilers: aliens didn't happen. So I was a little
I just want
disappointed.
to say there are so
But,
many people who mentioned aliens with
It
this
would have
book.
been so fun.
I just don't know why people were thinking aliens. Like, is it because
Right.
it's green? Is it because of the Institute? Maybe. Like, I've seen the word alien mentioned in so many Goodreads reviews, being like, "I wish it was aliens." I'm like, okay.
Really?
I'm so glad I'm not
That's so
alone.
interesting. You know, that would have been a really great twist, I think.
Well, I was
Like,
like, there's
never-
a slash in the
I've
tent,
never read
and
anything like that before.
yeah, like slash in the tent, no word, completely just vanished, no trace. Because normally, like, you know, if somebody kidnaps you, it's gonna make some kind of noise. But I definitely like figured he wasn't going to be alive simply because I had a true crime phase in my life and I knew how those stories go. And so I was like, there's slim chance at this point. It's been 30 years.
A lot of people thought Ethan. Oh no, Billy. The way that we're so easily mixing up these names is a testament to how
The
dull this book
most-
is.
Basic of male names. Like I get it's
Right?
very like 80s, 90s, but I was just like, come on, please.
Yeah, I too thought Billy wasn't dead because, like, usually if that's the plot, that's revealed in the synopsis. It's like he's coming back to town, his friend died, and the serial killer is back, or there's clues saying someone else is dying, or there's clues that the person who killed him didn't actually kill him. But because that wasn't the plot, it was just like he's missing. I was like, okay, so he's obviously alive. And then I had my eye out in the first like 20% of the book for random characters who like could be Billy, but later, you know, older. But then we found out it was like within the first 20% of this book, they find Billy's body, and I was really surprised by that. So I was still trying to convince myself that like it wasn't actually Billy. Maybe it was like it was a police cover up, and it wasn't actually Billy's body. But before the book even started, my theory was that the cutting open of the tent and the missing child were completely unrelated. I don't know why I thought that, but I was like, why would someone cut open the tent when they could just unzip it? Like, surely that would make more noise than unzipping it. Why would someone cut it? So I was like, they probably are going to end up having a friend who is jealous of their friendship, or a brother who's jealous of their friendship and is like sabotaging their night in the tent. And that's exactly what happened. And I was like, oh my God, how did I guess that before I even read the first page of this book?
I actually literally forgot who the brother was. Like when the twist happened, I was like, who is this random kid who's like stumbling upon their tent after Russ or whatever? A lot of these kids, this neighborhood needs to chill a little bit.
I think I was so honed in on the fact that was already my theory that I was looking for any character who could have done it. So I was like hyper focused on Andy being introduced. I was like, okay, there's a brother. He's going to have something to do with something. Okay, there's Russ. He's not as good of friends. It was probably him. And it turned out to be that. And like, it didn't matter.
But I can just imagine Billy's younger brother being like fucking with what's his name, Ethan, throwing the baseball. It's like thinking that Ethan's like, oh my God, Billy might be back. Oh my God, his realization for Ghosts killed me. When he was doing the research, he's like, oh my God, I think Billy might be a ghost trying to send me a message.
I know. I was like, just imagining the Twilight scene of Bella searching the vampires and like that moment in Twilight. That was Ethan. She was like, oh my God, it's shadow creatures.
I was so mad the entire time. He's like, oh, the Hemlock Institute. I'm like, this is nothing. Can we do anything else right now? I'm so over this. It's no. Like, I knew the second they said Andy's off grid, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I know everything.
Yeah, as soon as I said he was like in foster care, I was like, okay, so he's angry.
Yeah, he's mad.
Okay, did you enjoy the POV we got? Being a male POV for the first time. Did you enjoy going to the other perspectives and getting the other timelines? Like, how did you feel about the overall structure
Ethan was
of
so boring. Like, where was the hot handyman from all the other books? Like, hello? That's what I was waiting for.
I want the guy from Lock Every Door.
Exactly. We got this boring ass man who just like had some mild childhood trauma. And I was like, hey, I can relate in some sense, generational trauma. But it was just not as great as I think it would have been with like the other POVs. I think they didn't really give me anything. It was just like trying to lead me like it was just like weird plot points that were brought up. And then the next POV of the neighbor was like giving an answer to it when I'm like, it doesn't really offer anything new to the book. I feel like the book could have also been shorter. But yeah, that's my take on like the POV. I think it could have been interesting if it was just like only Billy in like the flashbacks instead of Ethan or third person, right, in the flashbacks versus first person.
Unnecessary POVs.
Yeah, at first I was like, "Ooh, cool! We've got an unreliable, unhinged man who's gonna give so much to the story. Great, this will be so fun." And then, not too long after, at first I was like, "Okay, he's gonna be smart. This is gonna be great. He's gonna like not be stupid." And then he was just dumber and dumber as the story went on. Like every time the camera would ping to his phone and he would just look at one of the three, and I'm like, why would you not look at them all?
He would get so scared too.
Like,
oh my God, it's just a squirrel.
And it's like, yeah, I have a camera in front of my house. When it pings 3 times, I'm looking at every single recording at once. I'm not just gonna look at the first one and be like, yeah, everything's fine. Why are you being dumb? Oh, so frustrating. He was bland. Nothing was happening in like the current timeline, and I was just bored out of my mind. So I enjoyed the flashbacks because I hated the like current timeline so much. And I was like, yeah, I would rather just have the story of like what happened to Billy that summer.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even that exciting or thrilling to even like watch as it happened. And then, you get to the end and you're just like, okay, what was the point of all of this?
Yeah.
Oh, Henry was a good character. I liked Henry.
That's a good point. I kept forgetting Ethan was a teacher and kept thinking, why isn't he at work? This is like what happens in like YA books when you're like, wait, where are the parents? That's why I was like with Ethan. I was like, well, why isn't he working? Doesn't he have like things to be doing with his life?
It's July.
Shouldn't he be preparing for like, isn't he worried about his finances? Like, okay. I think a lot of people, as far as the question of him, in a male POV, I think a lot of people over the years have talked about how Riley Sager like can't write women and how the representation is poor. I can't say I haven't felt that, but like I don't feel as strongly as a lot of people with that. I think like whatever. This I think is his most egregious representation of women, because all of the side characters and the decisions that they were making made absolutely no sense to me. And I wrote a list of them as I was reading the book. And I think if you're going to make the women make these decisions, you have to give them more of a personality and a reasoning, because just like the general average woman would not do anything that happened in here. Like Ashley running away when Billy was stuck in the thing and like never worrying. She's the responsible teenager babysitter. Crazy that she ran away and didn't ever care that Billy was
And then
stuck
also
in a
agreed that they should cover it up and not tell an adult. Like, that wouldn't happen.
Crazy. His mother not telling her own husband that she saw the sacrifice of what she thought was a human being the day before a child goes missing because she signed an NDA is crazy. Crazy. No woman is doing that. No woman is keeping that secret from her husband. No woman is keeping a secret why she lost her job from her husband just because she signed an NDA. Crazy. The fact that she like immediately sent her child away, who she was in fear of being kidnapped, to like go off to like boarding school after his friend was gone missing. Crazy. She's like, oh, I someone else lost their child. Let me send mine away. I actually don't want to see him anymore. And then what else? Was that my whole list?
There's some good pointers.
I noticed that Katie said in one of her comments, she was like, hated that the wife didn't want kids, and so not wanting kids wasn't a good enough reason for not having them. Yeah, like Claudia, no, I think she would get it. I think she'd be like, oh.
Consider they were together for what was it, 17 years or 7 years? I feel like it was 17 years.
I think it was 17. Like, it was a long time.
So, and that was another one I think that didn't make sense to me, was like the only conflict that we understood them to have was that he didn't want children. And so the fact that he was calling her and texting her and she never responded, that was my clue at only 25% of the way in. I was like, she's dead. Because why? You were together for 17 years. The only conflict you've ever had is we don't want to have kids, and you just never spoke to him again. You're not going to respond to this man's phone calls when you know he's been through trauma. Like, that doesn't make sense either. Like, how is your relationship so imploded that you would never speak to him again? So I wrote down in my notes, I was like, she's dead. She's not real. She's not one.
Wow, I didn't get that.
Yeah,
at
I didn't
all.
even think of her. I was like, she's nothing. She's potatoes.
She's dead.
That was the one thing that surprised me in this book, that I was like, ow, okay.
I wish so bad I was surprised by that, because I clocked it so early.
That twist in of itself wasn't like a thriller twist. It was more like an emotional twist where like he couldn't let go of his grief or whatever going through. That guy was going through it. Boring, but going through a lot of things.
It did explain his motives a little bit. I was like, oh, she's dead, so you're coming back to where your friend died, and so you're just going through it. So ghost, sure, that's the plausible like, obviously that's where you got to go.
I love how there's a real mix of people who like saw it coming and didn't. Okay, so
yeah, I was so focused on like everybody in the cul-de-sac that I was like, I don't care about this ex-wife thing.
That's fair, because like there are so many characters and so many people who turned out to have absolutely nothing to do with anything. So I was like, we're meeting a lot of different people. Okay, I just want to make sure we talk positively, because I know there's a lot of people in the chat who did love this book, and I want to make sure you have your moment. So, well, do you have a favorite, like, or memorable scene or quote that you pulled out of here?
Okay, so do you remember that one time in the book where he wakes up and he's like, oh my god, where's my notebook? I'm gonna freak out. He finds his notebook, he opens to a page,
and someone else wrote in it,
and it says Hakuna Matata, dude. And I was like, there's no fucking way I could have a straight face if I ever saw that a ghost wrote Hakuna Matata, dude, in the notebook. I lost it. I was like, this is so unserious. Be for real. But that was like one of my favorite moments when he freaked out. And I was like, of course. It was just so funny.
I really loved the simple math that Riley Sager gave us in this whole book. He was like, yes, it's going to be 10 years. They were 10 years old when he disappeared. He's 40 now. Don't worry about the math. I was like, thank you. I think my favorite scene was the last voicemail that he left for Claudia, where he just like let it all out. And I was like, oh, that's sad. That hurts. And that was like the one thing that I was like, oh, I do feel this moment.
But it was like, it happened so quickly too.
This is a good one. When nobody believed Vance because he was saying the Behringer boy, and all of us reading it thought that he meant he was seeing Billy.
Yep, because
But the whole
none of
time he
us
met
knew.
Andy.
None of us. I don't know. I forgot that Andy even existed in the first
Mhm.
place. I was just like, oh, of course.
Yeah, no, it was literally like he's saying that he's seeing the boy, which he was 7 years old when his brother disappeared. So I was like, okay, it's the boy, so it's the younger one, and also
Mhm.
he's off the grid, so he's just completely disappeared after foster care. Like I was able to peel that one so early on that I put it in my notes at the very end. I was like, I'm so smart. I know things.
Oh yeah, the voicemails. Looking at the surveillance footage, also like I don't feel like those scenes really did it for me, but they almost did every time. So I see how they would for other people when he's like looking and he's scared of something, and then it's like a deer or it's like a lady. That happened a few too many times for me. I'm just remembering like if you guys read Night Watching with us a couple months ago, there was also a trail cam scene in that like really freaked me out. So I was hoping that this would give the same fear.
For me,
I think
this
if
was
I
like,
lived by the woods, I would be more scared.
oh yeah. As like someone who's in the hustle and bustle of the city, I was not scared once
Yeah.
during this read.
Love the conversations about grief.
It's much more of a sentimental thriller.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
Oof.
Henry hiding in the tent in the start to read Goosebumps, very relatable. I feel that.
I loved Henry. I do think he was my
Henry
favorite
should
character.
start a booktube channel. Or a book talk.
Stop! That's so
He's so cute. He's like, trauma aside, here are the books that I read.
Yeah, I did almost die, so story time.
Okay, 50% of the way through the book, I wrote down all the things that we had learned. So now I want to know what your new theories are at this point.
So
we met. Sorry, I'm just gonna run through it. We met Ashley, the babysitter. They found Billy's body. We found out the mom lost her job. We met Russ. He has a dead brother. We knew that Billy has a brother. We learned about his ex, Claudia. We learned that the 5 kids went to that institute together, but we don't know what happened there. We found out Rakesh is a cop who was like from their childhood. He was investigating the shadow people, and he set up trail cams. That's what we learned at the halfway point. So once they found Billy's body, then like what were your theories?
So I went off Hinge. I was like, okay, this is so boring. It has to be explosive. I was like, everybody is fucking in on it. The neighbors, all the like, this isn't a cult. Like, I really wanted him to lean. Okay, I was like, okay, if you're not gonna give me anything, at least give me some occult stuff. Especially like later on, we learn when the mom, the
Hemlock Institute.
Yeah, and she's like seeing like them doing like a ritual or whatever with blood, and I was like, give me some more of that. Like, what if the parents and everyone was involved and they actually had to sacrifice a kid? Like, you know, and play it out.
I do feel like that's what he intended. Like I think that's what he
That
wanted everyone to think,
dumb.
and which is why he didn't commit to it.
Yeah.
He was like, everyone's gonna think it's this, but it was just an accident.
Like it was like this whole neighborhood that they're thriving because every, I don't know, 20 years they sacrifice a kid and they thrive and it happens again. I don't know. I was hoping to go more of the occult, that really dark supernatural element, but alas, my theory was never real.
Yeah, I think I wish that it was bigger. I wish it was like this grandiose plot. I really thought the whole time, I was like, okay, the Hemlock Institute is nothing. It's red herring. It's just there for filler to make this book bigger and like have something going on. I knew it was going to be Andy the whole time. And as like we're getting the flashbacks, not a single person had a motive to want to actually kill Billy. So I was just sitting here confused, like, what's the point of any of this? Like, it can't be a random serial killer that just came into town, because that's not going to be exciting or interesting. So it has to be somebody in the cul-de-sac, but nobody has a motive for like wanting him dead because he's a child. So it didn't make any sense. So I didn't even think like it could be an accident. I was just like, there's no thoughts in my head anymore. It'll just be something, and I won't understand why. But I was hoping it'd be the mom because she seemed unhinged.
Wait, whose mom? Billy's mom or
Billy's
Ethan's
mom?
Okay,
Billy's mom, because Billy's mom was just like, remember what happened to my son? just went off.
I feel like
so
maybe
fast.
if he had expanded upon like her POV with her finally breaking her doll, I'm like, ooh, this is something interesting here. But he never. It's just like a sprinkle, and he like, there, that's it. That's all
Yeah,
we
no,
give
he gave
you.
like a dash of like the character's potential
Yeah, and I'm
motives,
like-
but it wasn't enough to like make me believe in it.
Like, dig deeper into this? Hello? Like, this, I'm interested in more about their psyche, but I guess.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that scene. That was one of the things that I wrote down as one of my favorite scenes for some reason, was when Mary Ellen like had that reflection of her breaking her own doll. I felt it was like so, it felt like a little short story in the middle of it. I was like, that's such a interesting mention of like, there's so many things this could be a metaphor for, but like her being so worried about breaking her own doll that she just decided to break it. I kind of love that. It was kind of weird how they were like, there's only one, it was like the end of a chapter. They were like, there's only one person it could be. Only one person we haven't considered, Billy's mom. And then it wasn't. I was like,
It
that was
wasn't?
a really
It wasn't?
dramatic
No,
moment.
I rolled my eyes. I was like, "Ugh, you're so stupid. There's no way. It was, I don't
Yeah.
know.
He just wanted somebody to be to blame so bad that he was like, I will make
Yeah.
everybody fit the narrative.
Mhm. My theories of 50% in, that's when I figured out it was Ashley, which is really disappointing for me because I don't want to know, like I don't want to figure it out. And I wasn't sitting and I wasn't pondering and I wasn't theorizing. I was just reading the book and I was waiting for Ashley to become a love interest for Ethan. And because she wasn't, and I know that Riley Sager doesn't shy away from like creating these little relationships in his thrillers, I was like, it's Ashley, because we're going to have this grand moment where Ethan has the opportunity to save this kid and like have retribution for losing his friend. And the only way he's going to get to be this father figure to this child, which I think is going to be the point of the book, is if Ashley's no longer in the picture. And because she's not a love interest.
OMG,
I
you
was
fucking
waiting.
got this shit. What the fuck?
She's so smart.
Yeah,
I was waiting for
I was shocked. I was shocked. I was like, how is it this bitch? And then I was like, okay, wait. It logically makes fucking sense. Like, she just ran him over, and I was like, oh, like everything made sense, like logically, like how she is like the one who killed. But that shocked me. But you know, what a better twist in the end. I'm like, he got together with Ashley. He's like, you know what, Billy? He's like standing at the graveside of Billy. Me and Ashley are together now, and we adopted a son, and we're
I mean,
living. And I'm so
probably.
happy now. But it did end that way, and I actually thought he would end up with Ashley. Like they would all keep the secret, to, like take it to their grave.
Mhm.
But
I
I
figured that
I
would
was
happen.
waiting for them to have like some type of little spark, and then since there was absolutely nothing, I was like, oh, she's gonna be the villain. That's so annoying because unless she was the villain,
a very
he would have
unconventional
introduced a bit
villain.
of a love plot. So
Yeah.
Give
I
the
didn't-
villain a love plot.
Mhm. I guess I didn't know if at that point if it was going to be an accident or if she was actually going to be a bad person. I couldn't imagine her actually being the villain, so I was like, whatever. We're going to find out some stupid reveal with Ashley, and that's exactly what happened. I don't know that. I don't know. We'll talk about like the reveals actually in a second, but at the 50% mark, I figured out Claudia was dead. I figured out it was their friend Russ who cut open the tent, and I figured that I really figured it was Andy because Andy was the only one who might have known about like the baseballs and the Hakuna Matata. I was like,
Yeah.
he's probably fucking with them.
Wow.
I didn't know
was-
why.
You should
Yeah,
just
I was
stop
like,
there.
You can't tell me that like a 7-year-old little brother isn't noticing his older brother throwing a baseball in the yard and then Ethan just showing up at their house. Like he's not stupid. He's old enough to figure that out.
I guess this is progress with what Katie said. Andy hugging Ashley after she admitted murdering his brother. I mean, Riley Sager, it's called growth. He's making his characters love each other.
Okay, I guess we kind of covered this question, but were there any storylines you wanted more fleshed out and explored? I think a lot of people will say the Institute. I don't know if anyone wants to continue with that train of thought, but is there anything else or that you wanted to be more of the story?
Just what I said earlier, I wanted more of the occult stuff. Like it turns out they weren't even doing anything. Like they weren't even doing anything like inherently evil or bad. They're just like studying ghosts and talking spirits or whatever. I'm like, give me some more of like the dark and gritty stuff, like sacrificing a kid every 20 years to keep your cul-de-sac, I don't know, thriving or whatever. Someone said earlier, a cul-de-sac, and I was like, that
Maybe
would
that'll be the
good.
title of the next book. I have a small little theory that he's going to
Ooh.
write his first companion novel. I feel like maybe
Which
And Caleb will
book?
hate it if it's cult like.
to this, because
What?
I think seeing everybody's response to this could make him want to explore the Institute more. And I feel like I feel like the scenes about the Institute felt the most passionate writing that I witnessed in this book. And maybe he would continue with that because he mentioned this book in this book, and now I think there's like a cinematic universe.
Wait,
that we're
what?
talking about.
Wait, when?
He mentioned all the girls who died at camp in here at the very beginning, and I was like, okay, maybe we're gonna expand. Like maybe
my
this is gonna go
God.
further, and we could do the Institute, and then everybody gets what they want, and he does like a true cult book. I don't want it because I don't
I know
like
you
cult
don't. Love that for me. What's so
I
funny is
actually
at the
love that
end-
idea.
This is the Barnes and Noble exclusive edition, and the bonus content is just him being like, why this setting, basically. And it was based off his cul-de-sac that he lives on, but like giving it a sinister twist and just trying to make you feel like, oh, if this can happen to me, it could happen to anyone. But he does mention how he's done ghost stories at a summer camp and at a haunted house. And I was like, okay, so you're connecting this book in the same like vein as two of your previous books, that you're like connecting those dots. And now that you're saying that, like I could see it all.
Kayla, I didn't even catch that. That's crazy. and I've read all of his books. Yeah, this one just wow, that's
Skim
crazy. You
right
got
over.
everything. Literally, like Claudia's death shocked me. Ashley's reveal. I was like,
I'm trying to think of what storylines I wanted to go further. I don't know. I feel like a bunch of people might also say like the paranormal element. One of my questions is also just like, how did you feel about the paranormal element and the amount that there was in it? I feel like this is really classic Riley Sager to introduce like not even that the book might be paranormal, but the people in the book think that there's paranormal things. So I think that's pretty typical. So I didn't expect the paranormal to go further. I guess I liked how much there was in it because I like the tease of it, and then it to not actually be what it is, because then you have the opportunity in the future for him to do a paranormal book that's surprising. Because of all of his books, it like hints at that, and it's never that except for like one.
Except for the one, which
and we need
this one could do.
And I think we need another one. He needs to wait a couple more books before we get that next one that's like truly paranormal. I thought Henry's dad could have been more interesting. That's something that I wrote down. I was like, we needed more drama, because like Henry, we don't know who Ashley's like, oh, I slept with a bunch of guys and Henry doesn't have a dad. And I wanted it to be more juicy. Like I wanted there to be maybe someone in the neighborhood who was the dad. Maybe there was a reveal regarding that.
Oh, there was a small theory I had with Ashley and the dad, where I thought Billy stumbled upon Ashley hooking up with somebody we don't know, with somebody involved with the Institute, and they saw Billy and they accidentally killed him in some way, shape, or form. They dumped his blood in the water. I was like, oh, maybe the dad came in to play with that and with Henry, but that was not the case. That was just like a slight theory that I had.
I like that too. Or like one of the dads in the neighborhood or something.
Oh yeah.
I also could have used more from Detective Palmer, because she made me so mad the entire book, where she's just like spoon feeding him like, you remember what happened, don't you? Don't you remember? You're just not forgetting. You're just forgetting it. You just got to remember. I couldn't stand her entire, like her existence bothered me the whole time, and I wish that she was just like being obnoxious, being like, you can't investigate these things. You have to like lay off. But instead, she's like, yeah, no, solve the crime for me, please. And I couldn't do it.
This is interesting. Or like Henry is her brother, and like she raised him, and everyone thinks it's hers, but it's actually her mom's kid or something. That'd be interesting. I thought Billy was the dad because Henry was so similar to him in personality. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that. Billy was actually alive the whole time, fathering children.
I mean, that would have been a better twist than what we got.
Okay. I don't think I didn't add a banner for this, but like, okay, let's talk about the final reveal and how we felt about the end of the book. So the final reveals are that Andy is Billy's little brother, and he just like wanted the truth. So he was just like, instead of just like asking them what they had thought happened to Billy, he decided to throw a baseball in the backyard and break into his house and write in his journal to trick him into remembering, I guess.
Sure, like that.
So that's that. And then he kidnaps Henry at the end.
Kidnaps a whole kid to get answers for his brother's death 30 years later.
Mm-hmm. Took exactly 30 years for some reason.
And he mentioned like it was part of his plan or something. He's like,
yeah, everyone came back to the circle, so obviously.
Yeah, everybody's back in the neighborhood, so now it's time. It's like you couldn't.
We made sure that Vance had dementia, so that Ashley had to come back and
Mhm.
had to make sure that Ethan's parents moved, so that Ethan had to come back, and then we can get answers.
Exactly. We found out that Ashley hit him while drunk driving. We found out that Russ is the one who cut open the tent to like sabotage their fun camp backyard time. We found out that Henry falls into the lake, and then Billy's spirit saves him. And what else?
Yep.
What else? Just that like the death was an accident. Just that Billy was trying to connect with the Institute and wanted to learn about ghosts and just like went out of the tent on his own, which is like sad. It's a really sad ending to the book that yeah. He was actually a friendly ghost. How did you feel about everything at that point? The paranormal element, the reveals.
Over it. I mean, I was just very underwhelmed from like the beginning of the book. I was so like hopeful. I was like, okay, he's gonna bring it back. Like we're gonna go back to the roots. Hot male protagonist, difference. I got everything opposite of that.
Yeah, no, story-wise, it made sense that his death was an accident and that Ashley covered it up because she didn't want to get in trouble because his life is over, but mine doesn't have to be. Such a bizarre take in life, but like, okay. It's not satisfying though. Like for a thriller mystery, I was like, okay, we're leaning definitely mystery for this rather than thriller, which I was hoping to get out of it, and was just like about it. I wanted something exciting instead of it was an accident and then a weird kidnapping that feels very out of place, but also the ghost is going to bring us out of the lake because you got to tie it all together somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Brianna said something good about how Ashley's car not having damage from hitting him. She said it was a deer, but I was like, the police never checked that.
Yeah, that it happened at the exact same time as a child goes missing. You'd think more people would care.
So many people were doing their jobs incompetently.
The same way that I guess that's true. Like also it was the 90s and blah blah blah. There's so many things that like I could think of, like why didn't they actually investigate the Institute? Like it's so crazy that the cops they went through people's houses, they went through people's knife blocks to figure out what knife cut the tent open, but they didn't investigate the giant building right next to the neighborhood because like the people there were rich and whatever. Like I can explain it all away, but there were things that I was definitely thinking about.
Also, just like I love the way that the mom covered up the knife, just because she was like,
So
"Yeah,
funny.
my son has anger issues and for sure killed him. I'm gonna get rid of the knife."
Exactly. That's true.
Okay.
That's true love right there.
Yeah. Oh,
wait. It happens, you know. It happens.
Hey, duality.
I feel like the end of this book, the people who don't like the paranormal element of Billy's ghost saving them, I feel like people would eat that up if it was like literary fiction. If it was, you know, that moment where it's like, oh,
different genre.
The spirit of the ghost saved them. I didn't mind it. I was like, I didn't actually mind the ending. I didn't mind that Ashley's the one who killed him because then we don't have a true villain. And in a lot of Riley Sager books, we have a villain. And this one, at least it was a little bit different and it was all an accident. I didn't mind it like objectively. I just wish I hadn't seen it all coming. And I wish it wasn't so boring leading up to the reveals. That's what I thought about the end.
Your mind is it's scary, Kayla.
Well, maybe like, I don't know. I just think Riley Sager needs to take more than 12 months between books. Like let's wait a little more.
Break.
Okay. Let me think. Will you read from him again? Are you going to continue? Is anybody quitting on our guy, Riley Sager?
I always say this.
Kayla makes it a pick. I can't quit.
Just wait. Next year, there'll be another one. I'll make you do it again.
Exactly.
I would read from him again. Especially after that, like that spinoff. Maybe. I feel like that would be such a good idea. But
I put it into the universe. It has to happen now.
I'm just going to temper my expectation. I'm not going to even... I say this every single time. Like the past 3 or 4 releases, I'm going to lower down my expectations. And every single time, even lowered. But I still come back.
I think for me, the thing about Riley Sager is even if I have a bad time with the story because I hate it so much and it causes me physical rage, I always have fond memories looking back on reading it for the like book club and like
Mhm.
remembering the time in which I read it. Every summer it's a thing and it's always like a fun experience to talk about it, even if it was a bad book. And I'm like Survive the Night, so much rage,
That
but
is
I had
so
such a
true.
fun time reading it, and I remember all the good things that came along with it, even if it was a bad book. So it's like I can't turn my back on Riley Sager because it's fun even when bad.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't know. I find his books for some reason so readable, even when I know I'm not having a
Mhm.
good time. And I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know how he continues to do it. But I know not everyone had this experience. At least it took you a long time to read it, but I couldn't put it down. I was felt so invested. I think because we've all had at least one really great Riley Sager experience, we're just like looking for
Yeah.
that high again. And it's like, I can't put it down. I would never DNF a Riley Sager because I'm waiting for that moment for him to really like fuck
Never
with
say
me.
never.
It hasn't happened in a while, but I'm just
Just
waiting
kidding.
for it.
I think
No.
after The Only One Left too, I was like, okay, that one had so many twists and like just things that you could predict, but also just out there twists to just throw in. I was really like ready for that experience, and so it's definitely like always a time with Riley Sager where it's just like, yeah, well,
Yeah,
I experienced it though.
there was a comment earlier, I think from Kathleen, that said, "If I didn't give up on him now after Survive the Night, I don't think I ever will." And that is so
That's so
true.
true.
We all survived that book, which to me is like the worst book that he's
Yep.
written so far.
Yep.
So it's like, I mean, his books are like, if you think about it, the friends you made along the way and pretty much never acknowledge again. Some of them, at least.
I think in Canada they publish the hardcover and paperback at the same time.
Oh,
That's how it works here. They don't send me arcs anymore because I really roasted the last arc that I got. I'm off the list.
hey,
Oh.
supposed to take it.
My final question is: do you have any book recommendations or movie recommendations? Whether you liked this or not, what would you compare it to?
So I want to take my idea of the occults and stuff, of like rituals and stuff, and hopefully expand it with this movie that I just saw in theaters that was so good and so unsettling. It's called Longlegs, where Nicolas Cage plays a serial killer. It's very good.
I'm
Very,
really
very good.
hoping that one comes out on a streaming platform because I want to do like a members movie night watching it in like October.
You should.
I'm hoping
Kayla,
that it comes out.
It's so unsettling. I watched it twice, and I got like goosebumps. I never get goosebumps watching horror movies. It takes a lot to scare me.
It's crazy.
The way I actually have this book too.
Oh, me too. I get this comparison, but I would
Stranger
never, ever,
Things.
ever recommend this for fans of Stranger Things. I would recommend Stranger Things to people who want the exploration of the Institute. But if you love Stranger Things, I would never say, "Oh, read this."
Oh, there's
Read
oh
a
my God.
mystery that has very little fantasy.
There was this one movie with Hugh Jackman called Gone, where a kidnap where his child is missing because they were kidnapped, and it's only in this small town where you don't know who it is, at least one of the neighbors, and it's just like one of these like things where, is it a neighbor, or is it someone outside, is it the father? It's with Hugh Jackman. Oh, it's called Prisoners. You guys should definitely check it out, which I think falls more in line with Middle of the Night. So yeah, that movie was really good.
People are saying so many things I've never heard of.
Summer '84. Archive 81.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, Prisoners.
I hate this question every time because I'm not good at it. This truly was just like such a bland experience that like it's not one that like while reading it, not a single other book or movie came to mind being like, oh yeah, it's kind of like this to me. So I've got nothing for you.
Okay. I think if we're talking Riley Sager, the most similar in my mind is this one. The idea of like 20 years in the future, or however long it is, returning to the scene of the crime.
I just read that for the first time like a week or two ago, like right before this one. And I was like, okay, well, it's a hard follow.
Well, that's the one I would say is most similar. If you're at this live show and you haven't read a single other Riley Sager, maybe that's where I would guide you. And then the other ones that I have are Chasing the Boogeyman by Richard Chismar, because this is one of those like 20 years later coming back to your hometown, and then it's equally like set in the 80s and current day. There's a serial killer and they have to like catch the serial killer before the next kill. I also have The Chalk Man by CJ Tudor.
Ooh, that was the one.
Because this is another one set in the 80s and current day. This one, there's like a group of friends who like leave chalk messages for each other, and then one of their friends dies, and then they have to figure out who it was later. And then the last one is The Whisper Man by
Alex North.
Alex North, thank you so much. I hated that one, so I would say it was like a perfect comp for this, because it's again like the 20 years later coming back to town. The guy in that book has a son, so if you like the vibe between the two. Which comment are you reading?
Casey, a paperback with a flap? I was today years old. You've never seen those before?
What?
Wait. Yeah, those
It's
are
not that
rare.
common in the States, so I get
Oh.
it. But
Wait, I feel like CJ Tudor, she's British, right? Or UK or something
Mhm.
like that. She's literally the only British UK author that I would read thrillers from. Like I didn't really care for Ruth Swear's books or this other UK author, I forgot their name. But CJ Tudor's books, they're actually really good, I think. They're like borderline supernatural, some of them too.
We so agree on that, because for some reason UK thriller authors like don't do it for me 90% of the time. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know. Like all the characters are like the same, the writing. I don't know. They hit different.
Yeah, but CJ Tudor does a mix. You're right. It's like a mix of horror and thriller. So if you wanted like more from this, check it out. Okay, that is it for our live show today. Thank you everyone for leaving your comments of your recommendations. I'm going to go back through them later like I always do to figure out what I want to read and what I want to watch. I was trying really hard not to cover up Sam's face this entire time, so if I didn't highlight your comments as much as usual, I'm so sorry. I don't know what is going on with StreamYard today, but if you have not yet picked up this, please do so. I Was a Teenage Slasher is our August read. If you were looking for some horror vibes, not that I've read it yet, I think it's going to deliver. I think it's going to be weird.
A lot of mixed reviews so far from my friends, so I'm very intrigued to see where
I actually stopped reading My Heart's a Chainsaw. I'm so sorry.
You have to read the last 100 pages.
No, I know. I finished it.
Okay.
The last 100 pages made up the entire book, which annoyed me. But I did not like his writing style, so I could not continue on with his other books.
That's fair.
So-
That's totally fair. I would way
very hit or
rather.
miss for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think I would rather read a book that like everyone gives 1 or 5 stars than everyone gives a 3, because like maybe I'll be.
You're like, I don't want any nuance. Black or white people.
It's like we're either obsessed with it or it's the worst thing we've ever read, and either way, it makes for a fun live show. So hopefully that will be a good time. Thank you guys for being here, and I will see you in another one soon.